Welcome to the Champs App podcast, where we help players and parents demystify the world of minor hockey development and recruiting for both girls and boys. On today's episode, I talk with Peter Elander, who is the associate head coach of the Ohio State women's hockey team. We discuss his tremendous international hockey experience, including the Swedish Miracle on Ice of 2006, how Ohio State became the powerhouse of women's college hockey, and his perspective on the recruiting and development process. This was an amazing conversation with Peter, so please enjoy. I'm very excited to have on the podcast Peter Elander, who is the associate head coach with the Ohio State Buckeyes women's hockey team. Originally from Kristianstad, Sweden, Peter had a long playing career in Sweden at both the junior and professional level. He then began his coaching career on the men's side with stops in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, which included coaching the Sedin twins in the 1998 World Junior Championships. He then moved over to the women's side, coaching the Swedish women's national team that won silver at the 2006 Winter Olympics in Turin. After that, Peter spent 7 seasons at North Dakota as an associate head coach. He then spent 1 year at Ohio State before coaching the Danish national team at the 2022 Olympics. In 2022, Peter returned to Ohio State, where he has helped the team reach the finals of the Frozen Four last year and win the WCHA conference this season. Welcome to the podcast, Peter.
Thank you for having me.
So I've been trying to get an OSU coach on for about 3 years onto the podcast, and I can finally cross this off my Champs podcast bucket list. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I've worked on my English for 3 years. I maybe can answer it in English now.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Well, if you want to switch to Swedish, I only know about 3 words, but we can let you talk in Swedish and then put subtitles in a little bit later on. But why don't we start off like we do all our guests? Tell us a little bit about how you started playing hockey in Sweden and became good enough to play for the national team.
I grew up in a small town of 4,000 when we still have winter down in the south. So I played with my older brother and the neighbors, and then we had one really dynamic person who was NHL influenced and was in Russia with Tarasov. So he started this house league for us, and we have this big NHL. So my first team I played for the Boston Bruins, and we beat out New York Rangers as 9-year-olds. And then in the final, we lost to Montreal Canadiens. And on our award night, we always saw the year before Stanley Cup on a big movie projector there. So that town was really early into hockey, and then we did a lot of things. We didn't have iPads, we didn't have iPhones, so you did things in reality. So great family, sports interested family. So good coaches, and then I stayed in my little town until like starting high school, and then I moved up north and played for a bigger club, and it rolled on from there.
And what do you think the key was to you being such a good hockey player? Was it good genetics? Was it that you were just on the outside ice all the time, or you just like hanging out with your friends, so you were just playing hockey at all times?
I think that I was stubborn. So I was doing a lot of extra things that the other kids didn't do. And then I have an older brother who was 4 years older, that I want to be better than. So I have the challenges, like in the same house, I was challenged by a really good player, but I tried to be better. So I don't know genetics. How can you see the genetics in the brain? I'm not big and I wasn't fast, but I was pretty good thinker, and I was take big decisions fast. So.
Nice. And we were talking a little bit before we hit record, but you played with a whole bunch of former NHLers, or currently former NHLers, but players who then went on to play in the NHL, like Håkan Loob and Thomas Steen. What was it like playing with such high-end players?
At that time, I was on their level, and then something happened with them and didn't happen with me. So Thomas Steen and Thomas Johnson, who played for Islanders, they were a little ahead of the others. Håkan Loob, he took off when he was 90 years old to become an unreal good player. So those years, the 59-60, I'm born 1960, was really good for Swedish hockey. Mats Näslund, like the Montreal star, and there was a lot of players who made it to NHL in a time where it wasn't. So I played Junior Worlds and got 4 or 5 points, and that would have been a sure draft choice this time in NHL career. But it was 15 teams, and it was lesser Europeans. So they were good. Most of all, they were really good people. I'm still in contact with Thomas quite a bit here. So.
Gotcha. So did you want to play in the NHL? Like was there a path for you, or did you realize at what point did you realize that the NHL wasn't going to happen for you?
Maybe when I was 23, 24. So at that time, you didn't make money enough to say. So at 24, I took the decision to start university in Stockholm, being a phys ed teacher. So I played on the second level in Sweden. I didn't play on top level after 24. But you always have that dream when you're playing, like, because you see the players that you don't think is much better than you, or like it's not better, they make it there. So I have one story. I was in Camrose, Alberta, playing a tournament with the major junior team as extra games. And I knew Wayne Gretzky pretty well. So I went up there, and Glenn Sader, he said, so if I played, and yeah, I played. I played Junior Worlds last year or 2 years ago and played against Jari Kurri. He said, hey, you should come up and try out for us. So I was invited to come up to Edmonton and try out 3 days later. The bad thing was that they lost that night and they lost the next 2 nights. So they just, no, there's not going to be any tryouts for anyone. We're going to bag skate you for the next couple of practices. So that was the closest I came to NHL. I got invited to come up for a practice and they canceled it.
Jeez. All right. Well, that's some bad luck.
Yeah, maybe it was for the better of the league. Like maybe I wasn't good enough.
All right. So you then found out at like 23 or 24 that, playing in the NHL wasn't going to happen for you. And you went and pursued your university degree. At what point did you realize, okay, now you're going to come at the end to your playing days and that you wanted to move into coaching?
When I was 24, 25, I did my thesis at the university on comparing Swedish coaching elite coaches, did interviews with all those coaches. And then I got a stipend to go over to USA, and I had some connections with NHL coaches, Ted Sader, who was in New York Rangers at that time. So I traveled up and down on the East Coast for 10 days, watching 8 NHL games, and did the same questions to the NHL coaches. So that was interesting to see how they worked and how the Swedish coach worked. And NHL was ahead, especially on the video side, who didn't exist in Sweden at that time. So that's 1986. So I knew that I would go into coaching after I quit playing there.
And what was it about coaching that interested you? Was it the helping players, or you just loved the game so much?
I think it could be both. I love the game, and I love the tactical aspect of it, what the brain can do. And then it's so benefiting to see people grow in their roles. Like I just thought about it. All the TV series I see now is about people helping other people to grow. Like Ted Lasso is a super good example of that. Like you help people to be better. And I really like that, to give instead of take.
I gotcha. So, tell us about like your coaching career. I believe you were a player coach in your final year of playing, and then how did you make that transition on the men's side into coaching on the men's side?
I got an offer to come and play in Norway, the second tier in Norway, as a player and a coach. And I was in a contract dispute with my Swedish club, so I took it, and it was a good way. But it was hard to be a player coach, because when you told people what to do, were you a player, were you a coach? So I can't recommend anyone to do that. You have to have someone on the bench who's giving the orders, can't be the player. And we have success. We went up to the top league, but I moved back to Sweden and was just a player for another 2 seasons in my hometown. And then I got the chance to be part of the GM assistant coach with a club who had ambitions to go up to the top league in Sweden with some real. We had Kari Eloranta, who came back from Canada Cup, the same too. Kenny Johnson's first year. A lot of good players, young players and experienced players. And we went up. We managed to be promoted to the top league in Sweden. First time ever for that club. So that was my start. Like I was there for 4 years. And then after that, I became a head coach in my hometown where I grew up. And that was interesting. Like no one is a prophet in their hometown. So.
Oh yeah. Everybody knows all your dirty laundry before you got there. So.
Yeah. No. So that was an interesting year. So, and then I got a chance to go to Denmark for 1 year as the head coach. And also you learn like big plans is good, but big money is better. So you need to have like financial support to do the things you want. So, and then I got fired there, like say January. And then I went back and just played beer or hobby hockey. And then I got a chance to come into the Matt Salin, my old teammate, he was the new head coach for the Swedish Junior Worlds team. So he asked if I want to be the assistant coach there, and that was a very, very good team. So I told Brian Nadolski, who's a big Detroit fan. Yeah, I was in the meeting that where we cut Henrik Zetterberg. We didn't think he was good enough. He was 1 year younger, and then this little Kronwall who was just like 5'6" or something. He's not gonna be a player there. Things change. Henrik Zetterberg put the speed and everything in. So 1 year later, he's dominating, and Kronwall grew like 18 inches, and now he's a big monster, like killing people on the ice there. So,
Yeah.
It's hard when you have that age of 18, 19. You can look around corners, it's going to be good, but you're going to do your mistakes. Some players develop later. That's just how it's same in women hockey now. Like, to find the one who would be really good in 4 years is harder than find the one who's really good now.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Zetterberg and Kronwall went to play for the Red Wings and won multiple Stanley Cups later on. So you mentioned coaching the Swedish junior team, and I believe that you coached the Sedin twins at one point. I was wondering if you have any good stories about coaching the Sedin twins, because supposedly they could communicate with each other without actually talking to each other.
The Sedin twins, first of all, they're very, very good people, very good humans. Always friendly, and their hockey they played, it was like looking at Pee Wee game where there were two players just move the puck around. So probably, so I have one stat that is funny. I am the only one, if Hockey Hall of Fame would do a twin exhibition, there is one coach in the world who's coached the best male twins and the best female twins in the world. So the Lamoureux and the Sedins, good people. They can read off each other, so makes the game look simple.
Beautiful. All right, so tell us how you transitioned into the women's game and you became the head coach of the Swedish women's national team for 9 years.
Sweden had a bad tournament in the Worlds. They were like one game from relegation 2001. Like they won against Kazakhstan, and the head of the team asked if I would come in and help, like more tactically. So I went in that year, 2001, 2002. I didn't go to the Olympics there. And then 2003, they asked if I would be the head coach. And I stayed with the team for 8 seasons there. So it was interesting. Like we played a 1-3-1 trap who was super successful. And also have success. Like we started practicing much harder. So good years. Had a good staff. That's the key thing too.
Gotcha.
And then,
so you mentioned like the Swedish women's team was having trouble between like 2001 and 2003. So I was actually at the 2002 Olympics for the men's team when in the quarterfinals when they played against Belarus, and they got upset by Belarus in the quarterfinals, which I'm sure you were very well aware of. And I was wondering, what the impact was of having unsuccessful women's teams and men's teams at about the same time.
No, I think that they had success, but the first games we played 2001, 2002, I think we lost 14 games. We had one win going into the Olympics. But we played a very defensive style with Kim Martin as the goalie, who was like 16 years at the time, but was the best goalie in the world. So we played a 1-3-1 trap, and Sweden took their first ever medal in 2002. They took a bronze medal against Finland. So that was the day after the men's team had been relegated. So that now the women team saved the Olympics there. And then after that, from 2003 or 2002 on, we were the dominating team. We were like better than Finland. They took some medals, but overall we had more wins in that until 2010 there.
Gotcha. So 2006, that's known as the Swedish Miracle on Ice. Maybe just talk about that whole Olympic series, and then playing in the semifinals and winning it in a shootout against the United States of America.
Yeah, we prepared so well for that tournament. We had a dry season, and the girls was like fantastic. And we didn't. You have to know the Swedish team. The only team that could afford centralizing is Canada and USA. So we had to work with club teams and low-level coaches, like low-level everything. But the girls, we send out them we call it the Herb Brooks program. We had 1 hour of bag skating they should do on their own, and they have 25 sessions, and they did it. They all even get players who wouldn't go to Olympics go up at 7 o'clock in the morning and skate with them for an hour just to be a good friend. So I think that benefited us. We were in super condition. And when we played USA was quicker and faster. But the second half of the game, Jenny Potter didn't outskate Erika Holst anymore. So our team could manage to play as long as we were close. And Kim Martin, unreal goalie. So we're getting down 2-0, and then we score a shorthanded goal. So it's 2-1 now, and we have life. We score another goal on a turnover, 2-2. And from that on, it's like I told the girls, USA can't win this game. They can just lose it because they're expected to win. You have everything in your hands. And even in the overtime, we had more chances than USA. And when it come down to the penalty shots, we had Kim Martin's brother was like a goalie coach for us, and he has been like scouting all the American goalies, so we knew where they were weak. And the girls they took the shot where she was weak there. So, and Kim saved all the 4 shots. So and we knew we had a chance against USA because we played them in earlier the year. It was like a 2-0 game or something like that. So those girls, they did whatever you had to do to take that medal. So very, 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 very good team.
And what do you think the impact was then on women's hockey going forward, like since then, in the last 18 years, as a result of that silver medal?
I think it was too slow. And I have my theory why it was so slow. The Swedish hockey department is like the Swedish Hockey Federation. They don't have too many staff. And what happened 2 days later, the men win the Olympic gold, first time best against the best, with Niklas Lidström scoring a game-winning goal and assist from Forsberg and Matt Sundin. So the 3 big ones in Sweden hockey. So now, when you're going to do the sponsor calls and try to get more money into the business, I think the men was ahead of us there. I think it took too long. We worked really, really hard the next 4 years and have an okay Vancouver Olympics. Some bad results, but like we practiced, so we would have a chance to go all the way. And then the Swedish league system has worked out, so there's a really good league system. But the national team had a downtime since 2010. They've been in 1 medal game since in the last 14 years.
Ouch. Yeah. But they did win, or at least they made it to the finals last year in the under-18s by upsetting the Americans. So, there's clearly some very good players coming, up into the college ranks over the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah. We have some players that in the college ranks who's going to play for us in the future in the highest.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we can keep talking international for forever, but I do want to get now back to a little bit onto to college hockey. So tell us how you ended up going to North Dakota for 7 years and working with Brian Nadolski.
Oh, I was down in Naples on a convention there, like 2007 or 8, and Brian Nadolski asked if I would interested, and he came over to my hockey camp, and we got good friends and. Became good friends, and then he put an offer on the table, and I was done with the Swedish Federation after 9 years. So I took the offer and was like, going to work in the Ralph Engelstad Arena is like a privilege, like you can't, like it's a Taj Mahal of hockey rinks. So and our team got better. We got some European recruits, and Monique and Jocelyn Lamoureux moved home to Grand Forks from the Gophers. So we had a good team. Hope we could have won more trophies, but was good 7 good years. And when they canned the program there was like, I wouldn't retire in Grand Forks. So
gotcha. So tell us how you moved over to Ohio State.
When Nadine Masserel and Diana Sabo, the athletic director, was up there the last weekends we played that year before. I took them on a tour, and then when they canned our program, Nadine called and said if I would be interested of staying in the WCHA. And I said I could be interested. We just have to come to agreement. So I got the chance to stay in the WCHA, in my opinion, like seeing everything now, by far the best conference. Like it's probably the best after the PW now. Is the best league in the world. Like it's really good players. So I like to be there. In Columbus was a interesting, nice city with an NHL team. So I took that offer, and unfortunately I got some medical issues. So after 1 year I had to go and do some operation. I had a bad hip and things. So after 1 year I left the program, but we had a good first year.
Yeah, and then you went on to coach Denmark at the national team, and then qualify for the Olympics and everything like that. What was that like?
That was really, really good experience of building a team, because Denmark, we had 220 females in the age of 16 to 40 registered to play hockey. So 10% of that group played in the Olympics. And the staff I could assemble, I had Tim Bockwell, former Vermont coach and Atlanta Thrashers coach, and I'm a little interested in hockey compared to Tim Bockwell. So he lives in Calgary now. So he was my associate head coach. So it was a hockey think tank where we like tried ideas on a group who was coming in with everything we were giving them. They were grateful for it. So we took a team from like not being good at all to win against Czech Republic in the Olympics.
Wow.
And win another exhibition game against the Czech Republic. And we're talking Vanisova, Laskova, Krisova, Teshrov. We're talking their best team. And Denmark, with 220 registered players, they won against them in the Olympics. So that was I can say it was a little of an Einstein move to get the team to follow a plan so good that you could see results, even if your talent wasn't on par.
Was it the 1-3-1 again that you were using?
No, we played 1-3-1 is really hard now, but you can't hook and you can't interfere. You do that. So we played a really, really aggressive 2-on-2 with having the D hovering over their breakouts. So we knew that the Czech, they were really talented and good, but they're too cocky too. So their defense would do things that if you play Canada, USA would never do that. You would get rid of the puck. But they were too cocky, so we created turnovers on them all the time. And the Czechs, they get nervous. Czechs is really good if they're in the lead. Czech getting scored on, they get nervous. They're not the same skill level when it's not like their mental toughness in that area is a little low, I think.
I gotcha. Okay, well, like I said, we could keep talking international hockey forever, but we need to get to Ohio State. So let's start with the basics for folks who don't know. Ohio State, part of the Big Ten in terms of conference from a football and regular sport perspective, basketball, etc. Huge football team, massive budget as it relates to athletics. Maybe just talk about the school, Columbus, and then we'll get into the facilities in a moment. But just talk about the school and the academics.
I can just say this is the first of all, the city of Columbus. It's safe, has a lot of things going on with concerts and sports. The school has so many academic programs, and the whole thing is academic success is the most important. So all the help that our players can get from like having academic success, it's unreal. But to remember, like, the Ohio State Buckeyes, when I was coaching North Dakota, if we didn't win against Ohio State, we would bag skate the players for a week because they were not on par with the other top teams there, not at all. So the biggest change for Ohio State's women's hockey program is Nadine Musrell came in here 16, 17, and the change she has done in like how we act professionally, how the players is treated, it's the biggest change in hockey all over. You can call it whatever league. Like it changed because if you talk with people who was involved in the WCHA, how was Ohio State 2010, 2011? They were a non-factor. So Nadine's job to like get this going and using the resources and holding people accountable. This is what we do here. It has been like tremendous.
So I was going to get to this a bit later, but you were there at the beginning with building a winner, and when I talk to parents and I speak to other coaches, kind of the word that they use to describe Nadine Musrell is fierce. Like she cares about you and she wants you to succeed. The bar is excellence is the bar is what they say, and that there is a lot expected. So I'm just curious, you know, how she was able to, you know, raise the bar for the entire team. Clearly coaching matters. If you look at what Brian Nadolski has done at St. Cloud State and other coaches have done when they come in, they with basically the same talent, but they've been able to really get a lot more out of them based just on coaching.
I think that Nadine and I was on par with that directly. Like, if you're gonna be an elite athlete, you have to live like an elite athlete is living. So this 4 fun year of college, it's not on par. I think Brian is doing the same in St. Cloud. If you want to be the best you can be, and I coming from the Olympic, other sports Olympic, and they call some of my girls hockey players, they're amateurs. They never have a toque on it when it's winter. Like, all the small details matter. And I think Nadine has done that to a religion. All the small details matter. How you eat, how you sleep, how you practice, how you hydrate, everything matters. And the result is coming because we practice hard, but all the details is the secret here. I think St. Cloud has done the same now under Brian for 2 years.
Beautiful. All right. So let me just take a step back and talk about the facilities. So I know about a year ago they announced that Ohio State was going to be getting a new rink in April of 2026, and they were supposed to be announcing the budget and the plans over the next couple of months, I think, because I've been to your current rink, which, let's just say, for a school like Ohio State, let's just call it a competitive advantage for it being not the nicest rink out there. So maybe you could just give us an update on what's going on with the new rink and what the plans are.
I can't, Ray, I can't give you any update because I've stayed away from that process all the time. I just know that they put an architect on it last year, and then I'm just waiting. So for me, the rink we have in the dressing room, it's a big home ice advantage. It's a packed rink all the time. We sell out. So we have 2 games or 3 games this weekend. They sold out in 5 minutes. So get a ticket to it's harder to get a ticket to Ohio State women game than to a Columbus Blue Jackets game. I can tell you that.
Nice.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
So the rink we play in, we have a good dressing room. We play our games. We have a fantastic home crowd. So on what's happened in the big picture, I don't know because I stayed away from everything.
Gotcha. So, and you also bring your band in there, and with such a low roof, it is very loud in there when it is full. And I do notice that you know, when the clock at the end of the period gets down to 1 minute, you know, the announcer says that there's 1 minute left in the game. What do the fans scream out once there's 1 minute left in the game?
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't hear what this. I don't hear what they're screaming there. So
I believe they say Michigan still sucks. And
okay,
so
I wouldn't say I can't neither deny or confirm if I hear that.
well, let me ask you this as it relates to that. I'm wondering what your feeling is, or what you think Ohio State's feeling is, if Michigan was to finally get a women's D1 team. Would you want them in your conference, and would you want to play them all the time?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Like, rivalry is always like really good to have, and I'm surprised with the growth of women hockey that you can't find the big schools to have a women hockey program like Arizona State. Like, the hockey is growing in the South. Michigan State and Michigan, and even I was beside some Notre Dame fundraising yesterday, and I was on the way asking, why don't you have a women team? The thing is, there are players with quality enough. It's not that they're big schools. They should see that this is something, but the college landscape is maybe changing in a lot of other things, but the big schools should have a women's hockey team.
Amen, brother. Yes, absolutely. So I know people are working on it, but you know, the clock is still ticking as every year goes by that nothing happens. So I want to talk a little bit about your current team. So a quote that I heard from you was, "Tough lessons are the only way to learn this game." So I'm just wondering, this past weekend, you split your games against Wisconsin, as you've already clinched the WCHA title, but you're probably going to meet Wisconsin again somewhere down the road in the playoffs. So I'm wondering, how are you going to make sure that you beat Wisconsin in the WCHA playoffs?
Oh, we played 2 games. We had some really good pairs. We had some really bad pairs. And when you come up to an opponent like this, I think expected goals combined, I think we're like 0.7 goals better at the stats program we have. But it's the small things that matter. So we look at the games, and we have to play Bemidji now first. But if we play Wisconsin again, we know what they like to do, and probably they know what we like to do, is just execute the best. And they have a really good club, and there's the WCHA, like all the clubs, they're really, really good. So you have to take care of your own business and know what they're gonna do.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to turn a little bit back to once again, still to your team, but more from managing the team. So very high expectations for the hockey team. The expectation is national championship at this point every year based on the standard that the team has set over the last few years. How do you balance that with the academic side? Because if you're doing everything like a pro on the hockey side, how do you ensure that that the student athletes are still doing well on the student side?
We have a weekly meeting with the students here. So, and the girls we have, if you come here, if you're not interested in being an A performer in both hockey and school, you can't be here. You would be the outlier. So the ambition we have so many 4.0 students, and they go civil engineering, they do speech pathologists, they're like medical engineering. Like, it's not like fun. They're really, really good in school, because I think they were so organized, and they used the off days isn't really off days. They use them to study. So their ambition with school is super high.
Perfect.
So a really good group, no drama. They just go to work. They're friendly to each other. They're friendly to the coaches. They go to school. There's never, why haven't you been to class? Like, they know. And I think that's come back to Nadine. Like, hey, we're going to be the best sports program in Ohio. Our GPA is going to be the highest.
So how do you screen for that when you're recruiting players? How do you know that that's what you're getting and that they're going to fit the culture and have the work ethic that you need both on and off the ice?
I think that you talk with a lot of people, how they are as person. You learn to know the family. And I think a lot of those girls coming up on a high level, the players we're looking at, it's super high level. When you come up and look at them, they're good for a reason. They're good at studying the game, but they're also like very organized, because all the extra skill sessions they do, all the extra demand, like you have to be organized. So that's it. And then when we have them for our talk here, we just tell, this is what's expected. And if it's a good fit for you, it's a good fit for you. And maybe for some, this is just too demanding. And you have good luck wherever you go. But we are demanding, but we demand excellence, but we give you much too.
Gotcha. So can you explain your recruiting strategy the last few years of leveraging the transfer portal to bring in the best players for their last year or two of college hockey?
That would be in Nadine question. We just, like, if there's a good player that will help our team and is a good person, we have resources to get there. We think the transfer portal is a part of the NCAA, like how it looks this day, especially for the top teams. Like, so when all the good players we got this year, I guarantee that all the big top schools, they called Hannah Belka and Kayla Barnes too. So, and we just said, this is what we do. We want you to be an Olympian. We're going to practice and now with the new pro league, if you want to have a chance to play in that pro league, it would be good to go to a team where the GMs is scouting all the time. And that's us. And it would be really good to be in a program who prepares you to be a player who can play in that league. So I had a story, and I tell that to all the girls. I had, when I was phys ed teacher in Sweden, I had one normal student, and then I met him like 6 years later or 7 years later on JFK, and I said, what do you do now? I live in Los Angeles. Okay, what do you do now? I'm an actor. I'm a professional actor. He had no acting background. I said, how did that come? I went over, traveled to Los Angeles, and I took, for getting the visa, acting school for 2 years. And then everyone wanted to go out and make money. But my professor told me, if you stay 1 or 2 more years, you will get better parts. So he stayed. He invested in himself to be better. And 2 years later, he got major movies roles. And the friends that quit after 2 years, they got like small commercial roles. So to be really good is better than to be decent, good, fast. and
And
we
this was
give them
Tom
that
Cruise?
year.
Was this Tom Cruise?
No, it's not Tom Cruise, but if someone said that he's going to be in playing against Tom Hanks in a movie, no, he's not. But he took the years to be better.
Beautiful. All right. So I'm kind of going to turn this back in terms of your experience with coaching. So and especially at North Dakota, do you think it's good that players leave before their 4 years? Like what happens if the Lamoureux twins left North Dakota for their senior year to another top program?
That's a hard one. So it's I think the right fit. Is that something who's the right fit for you? If you're just leaving, but if it's the right fit and you think that it would be better for you in the program, like I think it's so individual. You have the school factor to think about, and there is so many factors in that, so it's not a single answer. I can just say, like, first of all, you need to have passion to be good. You need to have coaches who's passionate of making you good. You need to have resources with as much ice and weights as you can to be good. If you're missing one of these factors, I think it's really hard to be really good. If you're going to go and learn everything about history and it's a grad student holding the class or is one of the best professors in the country, I think the best professor in the country is helping you more.
I gotcha.
So with Ohio State, we have as much ice. If you want to go on the ice is there, just go out. It's not like you have to share the rink or doing that. Like there is ice as much as you want.
Perfect. So now that the COVID fifth year is no longer going to be available after this incoming class of 2024, I'm wondering how your recruiting strategy is going to change. I believe when I've looked at your commits for 2025 and even some for 2024, there's a lot more international players, especially from like Sweden and other countries in Europe. I'm wondering, is that a role to bring in a little bit more older players to come in as freshmen and help the team out?
No, we're looking at players like the other big schools, like everywhere. We try to find the best person and best player. If they're from Sweden, Michigan, Saskatchewan, Lithuania, like we're everywhere, and we're everywhere try to find the best players. We have a good recruiting budget, so we're gonna go and see, and we just the message is like, this is what we do at the Ohio State. And if you like that, then you like what we're doing. So we'll be happy to have you. If you don't want to go somewhere else, good luck, and we will play against you.
Perfect. All right. So I got one last tough question, then I'm going to go on to just some basic recruiting questions. So if you're coming in as a freshman at Ohio State, is there any concern that they should have that like a grad student or a junior or a senior is going to come in as a transfer and then basically take their ice time when they thought that they'd be moving up over the 4 years?
Ice time is never guaranteed. Ice time is competed about, and if you reach the level that you would be an Ohio State player, you have competed your whole life to be that on that select team or be on that, get the ice time. So just keep doing what you do. What I would tell them, I would prepare. If I would go to a school like us, I would be physical. I would do my homework before, because the true freshman who is not lift weights enough or haven't done this, it's a tough environment. You're going up against the top players in the world. So you just have to embrace it. And I can just see the development from our freshmen this year has been fantastic. They have embraced everything from summer school to working out like extra, doing this. And you can just see, visually, you can see, wow, they are really good. So, but the ice time would never be guaranteed here. You have to deserve ice time in every practice.
Gotcha. All right. So what is it that you look for when you're recruiting? Obviously, at least from what I've seen, at this point, almost every single player you've gotten commits from are national team players, at least going to the national camps, Canada, US, and obviously international. What is it that you're looking for? What are the characteristics that you're looking for?
It's a little, first of all, the skating ability is a key for us. We play a very fast game. Skating ability, and then unselfishness. And also, I look a lot, how good do they think the game? So one of my mantras, if there was a pickup hockey game, would I like that player playing my team? Would I like to play with that player? If the player that I see can do all the things, but it's like don't pass the puck when they should, or too selfish, you can't play. You wouldn't play with me, and then you can't play for me. So, but skating is one thing, and skating, thinking the game, and then because of the way we play, you has to have a component of compete that is like you compete every day. You can see the compete level. So that's my free for how good do you think the game, you're skating and you compete. And if, as Nadine said, if you would have one, is the compete. We can make you a better skater. We can sometimes live that you don't think it brilliant. I have a problem with that. And then, but your compete have to be there. So we're a very competitive club.
Gotcha. All right. And so what advice would you have for players or parents who are, they got a kid who's, just entering high school and then they aspire to play at Ohio State. What advice would you give them as they kind of navigate, their development and the recruiting process over the next 2 or 3 years?
I would first of all, like, try and come and visit Columbus. You see the town, because maybe this is not what you want. You can say, oh, they're the best team, but you didn't like the town, or you love the town. You maybe think you're going to go to Minnesota, Wisconsin, because you're living close by, but come down and spend 3 days on a camps that is open here, and see if you like the town. Yeah. If you like this environment, because I think if you like it, you will work even harder to get there. And that's the key thing, like how hard you're willing to work, but there's no guarantee you're gonna get there. So it's a small window, but also when I go out and watch a game, if I see someone change on the back check, there is too many players out there. So if you can scratch a player away because they do things like change on the back check, but bad body language, didn't have the stick on the ice, selfish on 2-on-1s all the time. So more or less you weed out players to get to that small pool of players that there who is competing like a maniac. I have no problem to take a penalty once in a while if they compete. I have a problem if they take a penalty because I didn't want to skate so much. And then you're gonna win games and you're gonna lose games. It's how do you react on it. So are you overselling a win, or you go and point at your own number, or do you go to your teammates when you celebrate the goal, or do you go into the crowd? Because you play in front of the crowd, but you play together with your teammates. So who would you celebrate it with? When the goals get scored on you, are you the one who is pointing, go up and talk with some pointing fingers? Big no-no. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have a player said that was on me. So being a humble, hardworking player, and then use the skills. So I'm not so interested. If you look at our roster this year, I think we're the club who has almost had 10 players with 10 goals now. No one cares who scores. Because it's a team game. And in this era when everyone want to be their own, do their own things, I think finding those true team players, it's the key for success for a team game. I can also, we don't want any IKEA players who will put together it yourself. We don't want that.
Perfect. I love the Swedish analogy from the Swedish coach. So, yeah. Okay, last question for you. So over the last few years, I've seen the Ohio State staff at basically every major event in recruiting. I'm just wondering, what are the typical types of events that you go to coming up once your season ends in spring and summer? We would be at nationals, camps, showcases, etc.
Yeah, we divide ourselves. So in this spring, I would go about a 10-day trip out to Western Canada to see the Western Canada kids, Vancouver and Kelowna, for the rinks. The rink and Delta have really good showcases. And then we're going to go to Ontario Provincials. We have 2 staff members down at the Nationals. We go to a lot of the tournaments there in the fall with the Pippi and the national team there. But when you some of those events you go to see how your players that committed you have developed, if there's anything. But also, like, we try to be everywhere. I went to Wilcox, a little village of 100 people in Saskatchewan for 4 days, and just to see if there's any player that we can't see that we have a chance to find. So we throw out the big net, and then we really look into who would be the player that would help our program.
Perfect. Peter, I want to thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for sharing about your hockey history, how you got into coaching, obviously your tremendous international experience and all the wonderful stories from that. And of course, going into such great detail and answering all my questions about Ohio State, especially the recruiting strategy that you guys have been doing the last few years. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Ray. Nice to be on.
Before we get to this amazing episode, I wanted to give you an update on Champs App. We continue to make enhancements to Champs App, and this year we will be adding some amazing new features to help with your hockey journey. Champs App is a digital hockey network. With Champs App, you can create a beautiful free hockey resume. Whether you are a hockey player, team coach, development coach, parent, or advisor or agent, you can create a personalized profile that fits your role in the hockey community. Once your free profile is created, you can connect with team coaches, development coaches, parents, and players. No matter your role, you can now add key contacts to show everyone who the key folks are that you work with you, or are helping you out. It's like the LinkedIn for hockey. If you are a player, when you connect with coaches, they will receive automatic updates when you change your profile, add game video, or alert them to upcoming games on your schedule. Just go to www.champs.app and click the sign up button to start your profile. You can check out the full list of the NCAA coaches using Champs App by clicking on the links in the show notes. We also have more exciting features coming soon to help you get noticed in time for the upcoming recruiting and training season. Now, let's get to this amazing episode. I really want to thank Peter for coming on the podcast. He shared some great stories and insights about coaching for Sweden, Denmark, and of course, Ohio State. There are also some great recruiting nuggets. You can connect with Peter on the Ohio State website or his Champs App profile. Links to both are in the show notes.